All right, can you guys just type in and let me know that you're that you can hear this? I just right into the question box. I want to make sure that I can hear. You can all hear me. So just type if somebody could just say hello, or if anybody's got something on there, that'd be great. Anybody? Can you hear me? All right, let me try to send you all a group chat message. Oh, let me just unmute somebody here, and let me see if I can kind of. Oh, great! Somebody just said they can hear me, but they had to text me, and they're not showing up on the on my list of people. That's interesting. Okay. Anyway, all right. So let's get started here. Let me show my screen. You can all see my screen right now. All right. Welcome, everybody. This is the Masterclass Elite group coaching portion of the, we do the offer writing workshop, where I teach you how to make offers from start to finish. If you go into the membership site in the early archives, you can see a lot of these phone calls have been recorded. This one is also being recorded, and it will be put up on the membership site as soon as we get it produced. Typically what I try to do is take you from someone's property package right from the very time I open it up all the way to drafting of the letter of intent. I think we're going to get back to that type of style next month. We're going to do it slightly differently today because I realized that someone had asked me a question, and the question was a great one, and I realized that if they don't know how to answer that question, we got problems. And the problem probably is that they don't even know where to find the answer to that question in the Landlord Cash Flow Analyzer. The question was, how do I know how much money I'm making on the deal and how much I should, and whether it's a good deal for me or not? My gosh, that should be the first question you ask. And that is that you look at these deals and you try to figure out, well, if after I've paid my investors so much money, how much money do I have left over in order to put in my own pocket? Now, keep in mind, and this is a beautiful thing about multifamily, there are a lot of ways to make money on a deal. It doesn't always have to come from the cash flow on the property. Think about it for a moment. You've got the acquisition fee. Everybody knows all about that. Well, how about, do you know about the disposition fee? You know, if you put 3% into the deal, in order to pay yourself for putting the deal together, well, let me tell you something, folks. Selling a property is just as challenging as buying it. So you might as well get paid on the exit as well. So make sure you put in there and disclose to everyone in the offering memorandum that you are entitled to a disposition fee. Now, the other thing is you can own your own property management company, and you take money right off the top. There's another way that you can do, I see a lot of times with investors where they do an asset management fee. So it's not just on the property income that's generated, it's also a fee based upon the value of the asset that you're managing, meaning the property. I see that type of income put into these offering memorandums as well. So if what I'm going to show you here is how you determine what the deal is going to pay you, but you got to keep in mind that even if it's not as good as you think, maybe there are other ways that you're going to generate income from doing this deal. So just keep that in mind. Now, what I'm going to show you, this is an actual deal. This is one for those of you that have been with me for a while. You know that I tried to get this deal closed about a year ago. It has reared its wonderful head one more time, and now I've got to go back and update all the numbers. Now, what I want you to see, though, is how to put together the offering package, the marketing package, from the Landlord Cash Flow Analyzer for a particular property. And you all need to know this. And this discussion, it's going to, you know, it may not sound like I'm going to answer the question that my client had for me, but realize by the end of this conversation you will know exactly how to do this. So what you're going to need to do is put together an offering memorandum. First thing you want to do is start at the cover page, and you can click here, right here at cover, or you can click up here under cover, or there's always going to be a tab down here. So whenever, because of the way that this Excel spreadsheet works, there are 3 ways to get to any location. And here's another little tech trip. if I email you one of these Excel files, or you email it to me, sometimes there's an issue with the macros not being enabled, and if that's the case, these tabs do not work, and so you have to use these buttons down here for the Excel spreadsheet. That's just a little trick that you can understand. Now, what you're going to do is click on the cover, and here it is. This is what it looks like. Now, initially, the pictures are not going to be there. But you can see how to put them in. Insert picture. You just click on that, and it's going to pull up your file, and you just grab the picture file and hit enter, and it posts it in exactly the right size that you need. And when you go to print off this cover, these tabs do not appear, so don't worry about them. They're not going to be there. You can also delete the borders so they all merge together. You're also going to put in. You don't even need to put in, because that's going to come in later. But the name of the property and the address of the property. Here you're always going to put the highlights about the property. You type them in right here. They populate in central justification. And then now here, this is a question I had from an investor. Look at here. It's prepared for accredited investors only. Okay, fine. That's what this particular package is for. Now, what you might want to do, and I highly recommend this, is whenever you put these packages together, you put the investor's name right on it so they know exactly who it's coming for, who you did this for, and you do not want to blast these marketing packages out to the internet world. Don't put them on a LinkedIn group site and people can download them that you don't even know who they are. Let them contact you, let them start a relationship with you, and then you can go put a package together for them with their name on it. That's going to be very, very important. If ever you get audited by the SEC, you want to show that you did not blast this out to anybody, that you gave it to a particular investor, and that investor was in your files, and you verified that they were an accredited investor, et cetera, et cetera. Now it's presented by. I'm going to come back in just a moment. You don't put anything in there. I'm going to show you how you do that next. Okay, Executive tab. These numbers here all come right from the cash flow analysis. Okay, so these numbers here are exactly what you see on the page in a few tabs previously. You can do a 3-year analysis. You can do a 5-year analysis. You can show this column for 3 years, this column for 7 years. You can put in any notes or discussions. But here's one of the things that I've noticed. One particular client of mine, when he gets to this page, he likes to do the quick and dirty method. All right? I hate the quick and dirty method. And then he sends the package over to me and says, hey, can you tell me what you think about this deal? I said, geez, I really can't, because you really haven't given me what I like to look at to determine whether first off, that you put the numbers in correctly, and secondly, whether I think the numbers are going to be right or not. And besides that, when you do the quick and dirty method and you go to start putting together the offering package, it doesn't really spit out the information you need. So you want to put in all the advance in detail, and it will really help you out. You'll get to look at the how these numbers work and how they get analyzed and how they get put together. Check out the expenses as well. You can do just a gross input, where all you're doing is putting in a large number and putting in an increase, or you do the detailed input. And if you're in the owner forum and we're working together on a deal, whatever you do, don't send me over a quick and dirty analysis. It does me no good. I want to see your analysis of this property, because that's going to tell me that you did it right, and it's going to tell me, help me make the decision whether this is a good deal or not. All right, so that's the executive section here. This is entirely up to you how detailed you want it. You got the pictures right here. You got Villa Court Apartments with the address. Here's my logo. I'm going to show you how to do that in just a second. And that's the second page. Now we're going to come up to the photos page. And here you can put up to 6 pictures. Actually, you can put up to 8 pictures. I only had 6 to put in here. And then you put a little description of what the picture is right underneath it. Wooded backyard for many residents. Plenty of parking. And just go right down the list. So this is one of the pages that you'll be responsible for putting together. Now, same with the comps. The comps, you can do a sales comp, in escrow comp. That means properties that are currently under contract and going to close. You can do an on-market comp. You can do rent comps. What you're going to do is click over here under the enter the info, and you can see it's all right here. You're going to put in the comparable name. You're going to put in the address. You're going to fill in the blanks here. And if there's a picture, you're going to insert the picture. And then what you do is when it comes down to the map, you can see you can put in a nice map. Right, typically get these things from like Google, and you can put in the addresses, and then Google can put a pin on each one of the addresses, and then you just take that, copy that file and stick it right in here and put in some notes if you want to. So that takes care of the comps. I'm going to skip over the partnership because that's really what we're going to be talking about today. And the goal seek, I hope you folks know this or have seen this before, or understand that it's in there. Because this type of information is, Doug Rutherford does a great job in putting these things together, this software together. So it is right here. If you need to figure out what type of a cash and cash return you want, what type of cap rate you want to buy it for, what price you should offer to get you a cash and cash return of X within a certain number of years, this is what this section is all about, the goal seek. Now, under the company info, this is where you're going to put in, your name, and this is what I would do. And it's, I can't. Charles Dobbins, Villa Court Partners, 123 Main Street, Duxbury, and Mass up here. So, and all the information. I'm not going to put it all in here. This is where you put in the company logo. You saw that Charles Dobbins logo on there, and I'll hit done. And now if we go back and look at the cover, you can see there it is, Villa Court Partners, 123 Main Street, Duxbury, and that's where all that information starts. That's where you put in that information to populate it. Now, before we get to the meat of this discussion, I want to show you one more thing. We've gone through a bunch of tabs up here, but for some reason, if you come over here to the home, there are some other tabs that you should know about that are not up here on the list, and that would be the Bio tab. This is where you want to put in information about you as a syndicator of the deal or the sponsor of the deal. That's where this goes. There's my logo, as I mentioned before. So you want to put all of that in there. And then the property description. You make sure you put this in. Now, here's the whole property description. And in addition to that, I'm going to see if I can, what I have to do is come up a little bit. Come up a little bit. Okay. I'm not going to do it all the way. But look at over here. See these highlights? This is very, very important, and you want to make sure that you've got this information and it's well documented. You know where they are. You know what the selling cap rate is, the market cap, and the cash and cash return. But this is where you're going to put these highlights in, and make sure you put the highlights in. That would be terrible. Now you get this notes section where you can put a picture of the property right here and just type up a whole story about this particular deal, so that somebody who's picking up this offering memorandum can just look at it and get an understanding of how the property is operating. Okay, so that is it as far as the other things that you're going to put in here. We're actually not going to talk about the printing. As you can see, the beautiful thing about this, look at all these reports and graphs and tables that you can include in your property package just by checking off these boxes. Make sure, boy, I mean, if you check off, select all, trust me, folks, you will kill trees with this one. So be careful before you hit print for these. Okay, so question then becomes, how do I know that this is a good deal? How do I know if I'm going to make money on it? What percentage should I give away? What percentage should I keep? And that is answered right here in this partnership module. Now look at this. There are 3 sections to this partnership module. I'm going to touch upon 2, and then we're going to delve into the 3rd one. First one is a confidential offering summary. Look at it, guys. Here's your company's name right up here. Here's the name of the property and what you're offering. This is the amount that you're looking to raise. Who's the manager of the deal going to be? It's typically you. Here are the risks that you need to input in here and make sure that people understand. Now, if you've ever looked at a private placement memorandum, you know that there are several sections in a PPM that talk about risks. This is not a replacement for a PPM. You just don't use this as a private placement memorandum. This is an offering summary. This is an offering memorandum. It does not meet the requirements that the SEC wants to see in everyone's offering memorandum. So when you see this section here on the risks, go ahead and put some risks in there, but don't think that this is a replacement for going to a good SEC attorney who we spoke to last month and you know, try to take their place. Just don't do it. And here's my disclaimer. Got to get this in here. I'm a lawyer. I'm not your lawyer. Hire a lawyer, especially an SEC lawyer. You got Kim Taylor's offer last week about the first half hour free. Take her up on it. If you have any questions about what you're doing or how to do it, pick up the phone and call her and set up that appointment. You will not regret it, I promise you. Okay, next module here is what's called the sources and uses statement. Now let me explain to you what the sources and uses mean. In any type of a deal where there is a bank involved, there will be two sources and uses statement. It does not mean that I am trying to run two sets of books. That's not what I mean by the fact that there are going to be two sources and uses statements. The first sources and uses statement is for the bank. The bank is the one that generates that first sources and uses, okay? And all that's going to tell you is how much money you're going to need to bring to the closing table to make the deal happen. All right, you've all seen these forms. You've seen them on, you know, the HUD statement. You know, on a commercial side, it's the sources and uses. It shows how much you're bringing to the table and how much is going to the seller, and vice versa. And you know, prorations and fees built in there. You know, wholesale fees, title insurance fees. All those types of things are all in there, and they you know, that is what the bank puts together. That is not what you show your investors. That's going to be on the investor sources and uses statement. That's going to be in the offering memorandum. That's going to be part of the documents. It's going to be completely disclosed. And what that does, the investor sources and uses, it shows all the money that's being raised and put into the deal. And then once it's in the deal, then where that money is going to go. Because what's happening here is you are starting a company, and that company is raising money. And everybody that's on, you know, that puts money in is a stakeholder. I didn't say shareholder, I said a stakeholder, you know, in the layperson's definition of stakeholder, in that particular deal. So they want to know where their money is going and what's it being used for. And that's the sources and uses side. Now, this is where your acquisition fee is going to be disclosed, and you are going to disclose your acquisition fee. Don't even think about trying to hide that fact. You know, no faster way to get yourself in trouble is than failing to disclose. So in the 3% fee, that's got to be disclosed right there at the beginning in the offering memorandum, and then also in the private placement memorandum. It doesn't go into the operating agreement. That goes to how the company is being run. But you always want to disclose where your acquisition fee is going. All right. So that's the sources and uses. Now look at this. Notice how it's not filled in here, but look at where this information is coming from. So what we need to do here is, if you know, we can go in and put in numbers, or typically these numbers are going to populate automatically from when you put the information into the input data section up here. And so, yeah, let me see, reserve, let's put in 50,000. And just to make sure that goes through. Watch, it probably won't, and I'll be totally embarrassed. Yeah, of course it doesn't show up. Funds require working capital, organizational fee, acquisition fee, legal account. Okay, so I'm sorry. Here's where we're going to put it in there. Working capital. We're going to put $100,000 into this property, and see, that's where it pops up right there. So the down payment comes from the upfront. The loan fees are 1%. Input that, as it tells you right here, all comes from the input data screen. All right, so that's where this comes in. You can put in some footnotes that help to describe where that money is from. Okay, so finally, now we're coming to the meat of the matter. Sources and uses, confidential summary, and now the partner module. This is how you're going to figure out what type of money you're making on this deal. Let me take you through this screen step by step. First thing you're going to do is come up with a type, what are we calling the investors? Are they members? Are they LLC members? Are they LLC investors? Are they partners? Is it a tick? Are they tick investors? Okay, let's call them investors. And, let's call them investors. All right. So you go and you change that investor's name, and it changes all the column titles. Now, that's going to play throughout your whole offering memorandum. You're going to see that word investors appear. Now, the next question is manager's title choice, the LLC manager, or is he a general partner, managing member, LLC member, investment manager. You decide what you want to call yourself, okay? Let's call ourselves the managing members. Now, investor's name, investor one. What we want to do here, remember how we said we want to put the person's name up on the accreditation field? Well, this is where their name is going to go as well. So this is what I'm going to put in, John Smith. That's it. All right. Now, show manager's return on the reports. What does that mean? Do you want to, while you're trying to get this guy to buy into your deal, do you want to have your compensation on the form right along with him? Or do you want to keep that separate, fully disclosed when he gets the documents, but in this particular report, do we want to disclose that particular number? And in this particular case, I just click off no. Now, investors' ownership. Who's the investor? John Smith is. How much of the deal is John Smith going to get? Here's the thing. Let's start with 50%, and let's see what that means. What does 50%, if we're selling off half of the deal to John Smith, what's he going to get? Now, here's my share or your share. How much are we going to keep? Now, it doesn't mean that because we put in 50, that our ownership percentage is going to jump down automatically 100 minus 50 equals 50. What we end up owning could be entirely different than half of the other contribution that John hasn't purchased yet. So in this particular case, though, I'm going to keep it simple. I'm going to make it a 50% membership ownership. Now, you've probably heard a lot about preferred returns. You can do preferred returns on the software. It does it very, very nicely. But here it even gives you some choices. Is it going to be the investor's return? Is it going to be the investor's capital return? Is it going to be a cumulative return? Is it going to be a maximum return or a minimum return? Cumulative and non-cumulative. In this particular case, we are using non-cumulative. What does that mean? If we decide that we want to sell our deal to John Smith, and to entice John, we're going to tell him, hey, John, I'll tell you what we're going to do. Just because I'm new at this, and this is going to be the first property I've ever run like this, I am going to pay you the first 8% off the profits that are generated off this deal. So you are going to get 8%. And I'm not going to even take a dime out of my deal until you've been paid your 8%. So John's thinking, hey, that's pretty darn good. Okay, all right, yeah. So you don't make a dime until I make money. Yep, that's right, John. Oh, sign me up. That sounds like a good deal. Let's make that happen. Now, here's the thing you need to look out for, or John should ask next, is he'll ask you, is that a cumulative return or a non-cumulative return? And you're looking at like, well, what does that mean? Well, here's what this means. What happens if in the first year or any year you don't pay him 8%? The money's not there. You decided to pay to go out and put on a new roof, and you needed money. Well, that comes out of John's return. So John's not going to get his 8% this year, and that means you're not either. But now next year, John, will he be looking for 8%, or will he now be looking for 16%? If the document says cumulative, that means that you have to pay John 16% before you see a dime. That's why I don't recommend, as on this side of the coin, on the syndication side of the coin, I do not recommend you offer it on a cumulative basis. Get out there, work your tail off, try to pay the guy his 8%, and then if you can't do it, you move on to the next year. Because there are going to be some years when you have a very legitimate expense and you're not able to pay the guy 8%. So does that mean you lose everything? You don't make a dime and it keeps accumulating? Well, if you said cumulative return, then that's exactly what's going to happen. Now, investors' return of the profits. Up here, okay, so we said 8%. Let's say 8%. Now we could do this. We can put in investors' return of the how much are we going to get on sale? All right, now think about this. That's the beautiful thing about multifamily, is there are many different sources of revenue that you can make money from. That 8% that we just talked about is on the cash flow stream off the property. What happens when we go to sell it and there's been appreciation? What percentage of that appreciation is he going to get? Does he get 8%? Does he get 50%? What does he get? Well, this can be negotiated as well. So typically you're going to think that if the guy owns 50%, he's going to get 50% of the appreciation. But let me tell you something, folks. It's not always this way. I have a client out in the Midwest who has a private money lender that will tell him, I just want 8%. Well, what happens when I sell a property and we get the appreciation? I don't want it. You get it. I just want 8%. They're like, well, what happens if, after I paid you the 8%? And we're all good. And when I sell a property, you get all your money back. No, or I'm sorry, when I sell a property, do you want to get 8% of what we've earned, or you want to get 50%, or whatever your percentage membership is? And the guy just said, all I want is my 8%. That's all I want. And think about that, folks. How many of these investors would you love to have? But you can split up the cash flow percentage, and you can split up the equity growth percentage. So the question then becomes, what do? Do we want to split it 50-50 like it is right now, or do we, as the sweat equity investors, do we want to keep more of that money? Well, I'll tell you, if we're paying him a preferred return, why don't we keep 25% of the deal? And so that's what we did. We put in 25%. I'm sorry, we keep 75%. The cash investor, he's the guy who gets the 25%. And you can see, you can call it investor's return or manager's return. In this place, we're going to keep it as a 25% investor's return. Apply preferred return to all non-managing partners. Yeah, everybody is in that class, and that class is what's going to get the preferred return. So everybody gets that. But you know, I'm telling you right now, you can set it up so that you put in less, so that you can have different classes of members. All right, investor share of syndication, total syndication fee. This is where we've talked several times on where you put this number in. This is where you put it in. All right, but the strange thing about this program is it doesn't translate to the input data section. So you have to put the $50,000 in here so it shows up in the partnership module. But when you're calculating what your money needs are and your cash needs, you've got to actually take this $50,000 and hard code it in to the input data screen. Investors' share of syndication fee. No, he's not getting any of that. That's all your money. That's all your $50,000. Total cash required for this deal is $250,000. Investors' cash investment, not including the syndication fee, is $250,000. Remember, that guy is going to pay for everything. He's your total. All your cash investors are coming to the table with all the cash you need. Now, if you were coming to the table with cash, then you would put in a different percentage. Here, I just switched it to apply partner, so he gets 50%. He gets 50% of the ownership, and he only has to put in 50% of the syndication fee. But the fact is that what we're doing in this deal is they are coming to the table with all the cash, right? All right, that's it. That is how we put in the information. So now, $1 million question, how much money do I make? So we scroll down and we look to this section right here. Managing members 50% of before tax cash flow. All right. Remember, these numbers are set to give you the numbers at the end of the first year if they sold the property. And as you can see, at a 50-50 split, this guy is not making a dime for 7 years. That's interesting. You know, we get the $50,000 syndication fee. That goes into our pocket. You know, we're not making any money at the resale because it's an upside down and it doesn't make any money until, you know, year 9. And then, you know, return of the investment capital. No, you're not going to get any return because you didn't contribute anything to begin with. So the question then comes down to, am I making any money on this deal? It's like the only reason you do this deal is if it was a $50,000 acquisition fee. Now remember, this is how it looks on a 50-50 split. Well, what happens if we decide we're going to give this guy 25% of the deal? And it should have, yeah, it's going to, there we go. And we got we're not going to give him a preferred return. And on this one, we're going to do 50. And total syndication fee, let me see, this is a $1.2 million deal, so you're typically looking at about, you know, yeah, I would say 30,000. Let's do 30,000 here. This total cash needs is a 250. And if we jump on down to the numbers, okay, now when we keep 75% of the deal, now they're at 25% of the deal, and it is a little bit more lucrative for you. I mean, look what happens by the 4th year. You could make $78,000 in this deal, and then, you know, just trying to see. Yeah, he's not making any money. So the other guy is not making any money either. So what we're doing here is we're trying to figure out, you know, whether this is a good deal or not. And I can't, and don't say, oh no, I wouldn't do this deal. I don't think my numbers are accurate on the input data side. So don't be quick to judge. Don't be a judger. All right, so that is really it. That is the part. If you know, you try to figure out how, you know, am I going to make any money on this deal? I highly recommend you go around and play with this. And what you also have to remember is, what are the investors looking for? Are they looking to do you know, equity deals? Are they looking to do cash flow deals? You need to have that conversation with the investors so that they know exactly what you know exactly what you need to do to get them to say yes and put their money into the deal. So that is how you figure out how much money you're making, how much you should offer, and how it all works. Let me just check right now for any questions. Wow, that was already an hour. No, I'm sorry. We started at 2:30. We usually start at on the hour. And don't forget, those people in the owner forum, group 1, there is an owner forum call at 4 o'clock today. Be prepared. Be on your video conference and have your deals ready to go. So no questions. That's wonderful. If anybody does have any questions, you always know how to get a hold of me. And you can send me a text or shoot me an email, and I will make sure that it gets taken care of. All right, so next month we will be back on track. If anybody has any property packages they want me to evaluate online live, I'll be more than happy to do that. But after that, I am signing out. Everybody have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon.